I am going to do a February and March reading wrap up. So it's currently March 31st, so it's the very last day of March. So I don't know if I'm going to finish these two books that I'm currently in the middle of, but I'm just going to show them now, and then if I do finish them, I'll just put them in my next wrap up. The first one I'm reading is Fear the Flames by Olivia Rose Darling. It's a fantasy. I really like her so far. She's really good. I am 212 pages in. It's like 370 something pages. This is a really good beginner fantasy, I feel like. So I'm loving her so far. And then on my Kindle, I am reading Redeeming Six by Chloe Walsh, which is the fourth book in the Boys of Tommen series. And I'm about 30% the way through this one. Loving her. Joey is still my favorite character of the entire series so far. So obsessed. Definitely going to be a 5-star. I just know it. I have a feeling. For my stats in February, my favorite book was Keeping 13 by Chloe Walsh. My least favorite book, I only read 4, was Flocked, but I still give that a 4 stars. Like, I still loved her. It just, I love the other books a little bit more. And then my format, I read 4 books on my Kindle, and that's it. I didn't listen to an audiobook and I didn't read a paperback just because I was in the middle of moving, and it was just a lot easier that way. And then my star rating, I gave 2 books 4 stars. I gave 2 books 5 stars. And then for the amount of pages I read 2,126, that's crazy. I only read 4 books and I still read 2,000 words. Like, insane. We're going to start with February. I only read 4 books in the month of February, which are still a really good number. I just didn't read as much as I normally do or as I wanted to because I was moving and packing and just doing all that. So I read a total of 4 books and I DNF'd 1 book. The book that I DNF'd was I Like You Like That by Kaylee Gross. I just thought it was cheesy. I just didn't really enjoy it, so I DNF'd it because if I'm not enjoying it, I'm not going to continue it. But it is a rock star romance, so if you're into that kind of thing, then I definitely think you should pick this book up. And then for the 4 that I did read, which were all really good ratings, I didn't rate anything less than 4 stars. So even though I read only 4 books, it was still a really good month. I'm going to start off with my 2 5-stars. So my 2 5-stars, I read Binding and Keeping 13 by Chloe Walsh. So good. I feel like everybody knows what this series is about, but if you don't, this is Shannon and Johnny's story. Basically, there's a lot of trauma, there's rugby, it's a very cute romance. It's just overall, like, it's very deep and it's hard to read at times, but you just get so connected to the characters that you fall in love with them. I also read Flock by Kate Stewart, and I gave this one 4 stars. I really enjoyed her. I read her on Kindle. She was super quick, super easy. I'm not gonna lie, I'm a little confused, which I'm pretty sure you're supposed to be based off of like The Secret or whatever. If you've read it, you know what I mean. There's a love triangle. So if you're not into that, I probably wouldn't pick up this book. And to be honest, I don't know who I want her to be with. I feel like I want her to be with, I think his name is Dom. Is it Dom? Yeah, Dominique. I really want her to be with him. I don't know why. But I'm definitely going to pick up the rest of the series because I really enjoy this. It's fast-paced. The last book I read in February was Daughter of No Worlds by Carissa Broadbent. I gave this book 4 stars as well. I loved her. She is a really good romance. Fantasy, sorry. This is a really good fantasy. I have the other 3 books in this series. I definitely will be picking this up. I feel like going into this blind is really good because I went to this blind and it was just perfect. I love her. I cannot wait to pick up the next book in the series. My stats for March were my favorite book was Saving Six by Chloe Walsh. My least favorite book was Wild Side by Elsie Silver. The number of pages that I read was 3,460 pages. That's insane. That's insane. And then for my star rating, I rated 1 book 3 stars. I rated 5 books 4 stars. And then I rated 2 books 5 stars. And then for my format, I read 6 books on my Kindle. I read 1 paperback and I read 1 audio. So a pretty good month. Now we're going to move on into what I read in March. I read a total of 8 books and I DNF'd 1 book. We're first going to talk about the DNF that I had in March, which was A God of Wrath and Lies, and it's by Kim M. I don't know how to say her name. I tried to read this on my Kindle, and I don't know why. I got like 30 pages in, and I just wasn't interested. I'm not sure why, because I've read 3 books by her so far, and I've loved all 3 of them. I've given all 3 of them 5 stars. But this one just felt a little bit different, and her writing felt a little bit different. But I still think that if you like all of her other books, I definitely think you should pick this up because you'll probably enjoy this. But I don't know. I'm not sure. I honestly don't know why. I just wasn't in the mood for it. Here are the books that I did read this month. The first book that I read was Ignite Me, and I gave this 4 stars. I actually listened to this on audio while I was packing and moving. I really liked her. I think I told you I gave it 4 stars. I think this is my favorite book in the series, and if I'm going to be honest, I don't think, because I have 3 more books in this series, I don't think I will be continuing the series. I think I'm going to end here. I really like her, but I think that basically I'm going to say this series is basically about a girl who has a lethal touch. If she touches someone, they die. She's been locked up for 365 days. That's how the first book starts out, Shatter Me. And then you kind of go through her journey of things that happen to her. And they're in like a dystopian world. So it's basically the real world, but it's basically like Divergent and the like Hunger Games kind of combined, essentially. But I think the first 3 books are so good. I just think the way this book ended, we should keep it there. I feel like if I continue, it's going to ruin it. And I don't know why. But if I was in middle school, I think I would have ate up this entire series. Because it was still good. I still really enjoyed it. And Juliet, I love her. And I definitely love, it's a love triangle. So if you're not into a love triangle, you probably won't like it. But who she ended up with, I'm 100% happy. And I don't want anything to change. So that's honestly why I'm not going to continue. But I still loved everything about this. The next book I read was Obsession by Harley Beck. I gave this book 5 stars. So good. This is a thriller dark romance is how I would put it. Thriller dark romance is the perfect way to put it. Basically, there's this girl, her name's Savannah, and Robbie. Robbie is an inmate in a prison, and he's set to be put on death penalty, and so he has a year. So now he's killed multiple women, and everybody wants his story. So now that he's on death penalty, he's going to give his story, but he requests one interviewer to come to the prison to interview him and get his full story, and it's Savannah. But he basically requests her. He said that if anyone else comes, I'm not giving my story. Only Savannah can come and interview me, which is crazy when you find out the reason why he wants her to be his interviewer. It's so good. Obviously, it's a romance between Robbie and Savannah, so I would definitely say check your trigger warnings because it's very dark and there's some points in here that are really, really sad and like just heartbreaking. But overall, I loved her and she was worth it in the end. Even though everything that Savannah went through and Robbie went through, it's like I just want to give them a big hug. But I loved her. Then I read Reckless by Elsie Silver. I gave this book 4 stars. This is a cowboy romance set in Chestnut Springs. If you're not into accidental pregnancy trope, I probably wouldn't read this, but it was really cute. I really liked her. I am not like, I don't think I'll probably ever give like a cowboy romance 5 stars unless like it absolutely blows me away. So if I do, that'd be crazy. But I really like these for a palate cleanser. They're so good and like just so sweet and like cozy, and I love her. She's perfect in between like a dark romance and a fantasy. I just love these. So I loved her so much. Gave her 4 stars. She's so far my favorite. I've only read I think 1 or 2 books in this series, but so far this one's my favorite. Then I read Barbarian's Heart by Ruby Dixon. I gave this book 3.5 stars. I loved her. She was so good. She was such a fun time. This is basically, if you haven't read the Ice Planet Barbarian books, basically these human girls get kidnapped by aliens and then their ship lands on this planet, which is these like monsters. What would they be called? I guess they're aliens too, but these aliens, a different aliens planet, their ship gets crashed there. So then the human women are stuck there And basically, every single book about the Ice Planet Barbarian books are about a human and an alien falling in love. This one is a little bit different. This one, they've already met after their ship has crashed. They've had a baby together. So we've already went past that point that the other books normally go through. But this one is after the fact. He gets into a really bad accident where he loses his memory and he doesn't remember their child or her. So this book is following them and him gaining his memory back and remembering that he loves her and like they have a kid together and that he's a father and a husband. Like it was really sweet. I really like this. I think this is my favorite Ice Planet Barbarian book so far. Next book I read was Kiss of Bliskus. I don't know how to say that, by Lindsay Strobe. Sorry. This used to be called Spit and Swallow, but now it's called this. I really liked her. First of all, look at these edges. They're so pretty. This is like a fantasy dark romance because you have like fantasy elements in it, but it's mainly a dark romance. So basically, I don't know if I said, I gave her 4 stars. Basically, this is about a human girl and there's a human king. So the human king is 20 years old. So all of the women that are 20 years old basically have to go into this trial to see which one will sexually pleasure the prince the best, and then he would pick a bride based off of that. Now, for these women to go through this trial, they have to go with these creatures, which are basically they're shapeshifters. So they're human, they have a human form, and then they can shapeshift into like snakes. So she has to go on this trial and has to have sex with this creature and practice in order to please the prince whenever she becomes the queen, if she gets chosen. It is a love triangle, so if you're not into that, again, I probably wouldn't pick her up. And it is very spicy. When I say it's very spicy, almost every single chapter has a spicy scene. So if you're not into that, I would not pick her up. It's also in third person, so if you don't like that, again, wouldn't pick it up. But I loved her. She was so. Then I read Wild Side by Elsie Silver. I had another little fluffy romance in there. This is a different series. This is her Rose Hill series, I believe. Yes, this is her Rose Hill series. I gave this book 4 stars. I really liked her. It was just certain parts about it weren't my favorite, but it's a small town romance. She was a chef and he was a wrestler. The wrestling part is what threw me off. But besides that, he was really sweet and I love the way he like took care of her and Milo. So something happens to the main girl's sister in this book and she has to basically become legal guardian of Milo, which is her nephew. So Reese and her become legal guardians of Milo and they basically have to take care of him together. It is arranged marriage of convenience. That is on the back, so I'm not spoiling anything. I liked her. She was a cute, fun time. Then I read Vile Boys by Clarissa Wilde. Yes, Clarissa Wilde. I gave this book 4 stars. I really liked her. This is the third and final book in this trilogy, which is what is this trilogy called? I don't know what this trilogy is called, but this one's my favorite. The second book in the series, I think it's called, is it Evil Boys or Sick Boys? I can't remember which one is the second one, but the second one was my absolute favorite. I liked her. I think this is my third favorite though. It was good, but this is 3 guys, 1 girl, so if you don't like that, don't read this. Basically, if you want spice with a little bit of plot, Clarissa Wilde is your girl, because there is a plot in here that's really good that I actually really like, but it's like the subplot. The main plot is the romance between the 3 guys and the 1 girl. The last and final book that I read in March is Saving Six by Chloe Walsh. Gave her 5 stars. She's perfect. This is Aoife and Joey's story. I'm reading Redeeming Six, continues Joey and Aoife's story. Literally is shattering me. So, literally is shattering me. I relate to Joey a little too much. The way he copes, the things that he went through, him and Shannon, I relate to a lot, but the way that Joey copes, I really relate to. I really love these books. They have a special place in my heart. I'm literally going to make bookmarks for them today because and I'm going to make a shirt based off of Joey because I just love him so much and I just want to make like so many things based off of them and like they're constantly in my head. Like I'm obsessed and I love them. So that's every book that I read in February and March. Overall, I think it was really good 2 months of reading. I'm really excited for April because Fearless by Lauren Roberts comes out. I'm definitely gonna read her. I I created my April tea bar, which I'm literally so excited about.